It is the Anfield Wrap. Neil Atkinson coming up. We've got John Gibbons talking to Donna Scully about a single that's been released for Zoe's Place that is to come. We're going to talk about Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 1. I've got Stu Wright, Paul Senior and Rob Gutmann here for that. I want to push my book, which is very kind of me, called Transformer, which now exists and is in person. There it is. Rob, do you want to read one of the reviews? You can pick any of them on the bottom, on the back there. You can sort that out for me. Any of them that you want.
Okay. I was absolutely stunned by Transformer. It's so joyously discursive, as if Tristram Shandy had written
the hardest one to read, but go on.
Especially after the sort of drowning my sorrows post Nottingham Forest.
Go on, keep going.
As if Tristram Shandy had written a football book. Maybe dribbling is a better metaphor. As if Maradona's dribbling skills were translated into words. I honestly felt humbled reading it. And that was by Eddie Large from Little and Large.
It was by Frank Cottrell Boys, who is the children's laureate.
We both had the same joke there.
At the same time. That is to come. We're doing a series of events around it. So on the 23rd, we are in Edinburgh. There are booking tickets, things left for that in Edinburgh. On the 24th, we are in London at Neon 194. Do check that one out. That is on the Tuesday the 24th. Liverpool play on Wednesday the 25th, and then on Thursday the 26th, we're in Beer Keller in Liverpool on the day that the book is actually released, and then on Friday the 27th we are in Belfast at Lavery's Comedy Club there, and on Tuesday we're going to actually watch the game in Gravity Max. So if you're around and you want somewhere to watch it where it's quite family friendly, Gravity Max for that one, and we'll be doing post-match stuff there. You'll be able to see us around and about the place. That's the upbeat stuff. The downbeat stuff is Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 1. I'll go to you first, Stu Wright, in that I've heard from Paul and I've heard from Rob, but you were last year. They haven't really given me full chapter and verse yet, and I just want to know what you think. I think it's arguably Liverpool's worst league performance at Anfield in 2 years, possibly even longer. Depends on how you feel about Liverpool 1, Leeds United 2. I think that Nottingham Forest are better than that Leeds United side were, and that's why I'm a little bit sympathetic, a bit more sympathetic. But I thought they started badly and it got worse as it wore on.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was an astonishingly bad performance that I don't think anyone saw coming. But the first, I couldn't get over the first 15 minutes. And this isn't like after the fact. I was saying it in the ground at the time. I couldn't get over it. The first 15 minutes, I thought we played with a level of desperation, like it was the last 15 minutes and we were chasing the game. I felt like, we tried to force some chances there, but we were very much forcing the play. And we were so loose with our passing that they got out quite a few times in that first 15. And I was saying to my mates at the game, I was like, I'm really uncomfortable about this. We've got more of the ball. Yeah, we're getting balls into the box, but we look loose. So we were so lax, and you could just tell the difference between us and them. And by the way, this in no way is an excuse for the performance. But the difference between us and them was they'd had 2 weeks where I'm guessing not many of their players had been on international duty, and they'd had a game plan which they'd worked on. Whereas our lads had very, very clearly been off message for 10 days while on the break. And when you're off message at this early stage of the message being given under the new manager, I think it's very, very easy for things to come apart a little bit. But all over the pitch, the technical aspects of the performance were just woeful. And as I said at the start there, I think if you start the game with that level of desperation in that first 15, it's very, very hard then to get a grip of it afterwards when it's not gone your way. If you get a goal, it calms everyone down, fine, and we build from there. I think everyone expected to go into the game and see Liverpool put the foot on the ball, control, dictate, pick them apart, move the ball, take our time, and it was just none of that. And I think mentally, when you start the game in that state, I think it can just deteriorate from there.
I think it did deteriorate, Paul Senior. I thought they were. I think one of the worst things about the performance, as I say, is I don't think they start well, but where they are by the hour mark isn't right, and then where they are 15 minutes after that is genuinely absolutely woeful, where they managed to get themselves into. I think it throws open a few aspects, a few debates. I'd argue about the best way to go about these sorts of games straight after an international break, what you do with the players who've come back, with a big game on the horizon on Tuesday, what you do with your selection, what should your outlook be, what's the idea. But I think the first thing to point out is whatever we think about all of that, and whatever way we think the manager should deal with all of that, as Stu says, the individual performances of the players was just nowhere near good enough.
No, and that is my point, really. I think we can talk about what the manager did in game, and we can talk about the international duty situation and whatnot, and whether he should have picked the same team again, I was fully expecting unchanged. I know we had a bit of a chat before the show where you thought that should have maybe been a little bit different, but I don't think you can, on the back of that Manchester United result, change the team. I think the 11 that started fully deserved to, and it's Anfield, and we can talk about tactics all you want, but there's one tactic at Anfield, isn't there? You go and win, you do not get beat, and we didn't achieve any of those things. And the one thing where the manager's greatest defence comes from is you just can't expect individual performances like what we saw yesterday. There was a number of Liverpool footballers that were a million miles off their level, and the one thing I can't comprehend is you can be tired but you can still complete the odd pass, and the amount of footballers that couldn't put a ball from A to B just is incomprehensible. The one thing I would say is you do have these days in football, and it's quite often when you've got a new manager where it's not quite second nature what wants to be achieved. But I don't want to see any of them again.
Yeah, I just felt from very early on I wasn't sure how we were going to score. I couldn't see how the goal was going to happen. It was our first time against a true low block. Well, we said coming into Brentford a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago now, this after Ipswich we were able to hit them on the counter and get in behind them, and some of those good pre-season games like against Arsenal and Man U, we were able to get in behind teams. We've said before Brentford, we're going to face clearly inferior opposition who will get everyone behind the ball. Now, whether they did play higher up the pitch than I think than Forest, certainly, but also we were able to hit them in transition for the first goal. We score from their corner against Brentford. Forest were very, very mindful there was absolutely no transitions going to happen in that game. There was going to be no counter-attacking done by Liverpool. And, we arguably, as you've said, Paul, I don't think we had the time to train for it necessarily. But if you're going to be a good team, you have to know how to deal with a team that just simply won't come out at you. And I couldn't see how we were going to do that. All the good things I'd seen in the early phase of slot, like seeing Trent again as a wide right back at times who could whip those Beckham-like balls in, none of that was happening. Trent was far too inside the whole time. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of good individual performances by Forest, but to me it was a really naive Liverpool performance. And I think what you're talking about, Paul, in terms of bad technical performances by players comes about because of frustration and confusion. I don't think they started off playing terribly misplaced passes. It wasn't one of those, I don't think. But they got worse as the game went on because they didn't really know how to accomplish their goal. Score a goal.
There is with it. I think there's... To Stu's Forest point, Rob, I think one of the things that doesn't help is Forest have a very clear what we're going to do on the hour plan. And Liverpool also had a very clear what we're going to do on the hour plan. But Liverpool's was pre-programmed around the game on Tuesday. And that's what does begin to throw open the debate on what the manager is or isn't doing. In that, if the idea is we just do it all one game at a time, and that's the way it's going to be, and that was my team against Man United, and this is my team for this one, and then I'll work out a team for Milan, then absolutely fine. But the game scenario did not suit a pre-programmed substitution. It was 0-0, but also you could see what they were going to do. They've not picked the fast lads. They've got themselves options off the bench. They've put the absolute groks in the middle of the park who've done really well for them. And then I would argue, and this is where I think, I take Paul's point about individual performances before you get into anything to do with the manager, but then we just play right into their hands. I think, by virtue of the fact that we decide that we're doing what we were going to do anyway.
My point is more around the first 60 minutes. I think what happens from then, maybe I'd have something to say on what the manager's done from then. I think shape-wise it didn't work and whatnot, but I think there's a larger sample, obviously, in the first 60 minutes absolutely. Of which we play our system, and you can't find a way against Nottingham Forest at home, and that's a problem. But that's down to individual performances for me.
I think the problem which may have influenced his selection, and the problem we saw later in the game with the changes. I mean, we have a good, relatively deep squad. Lots of good options in theory when we have injuries or off the bench. But if you pick the same side every time, it's a cool thing to do, and I think we all really enjoyed it. And when the team dropped, I went, yeah, I don't think I would have done that, and I promise you Jurgen wouldn't have picked the same 11 again. That's just not how he rolled. But I think it's ballsy that he's doing it. Problem is twofold though when you do that, and you are held to account when it doesn't work out. So he is being held to account here. One, we can legitimately ask questions about freshness and whether a number of players are lacking 1 or 2%, which would have made a difference against it, especially against a low block where you have to be very concentrated, I think, in how you try to break them down. And the other thing it begs is the question about what do you expect of the lads you eventually have to drop in, as in pre-programmed substitutions or changes, or even against Milan, because they're not in any rhythm whatsoever. Darwin Núñez stunk the gaff out. Cody Gakpo was rubbish. Curtis Jones was obviously not fully fit. These are lads who haven't had...
Conor Bradley didn't impact the game anywhere near as much as we've seen in the previous ones.
These are lads who haven't had more than 15 minutes on a football pitch, some almost none. It's not surprising. They couldn't do anything whatsoever. If you want players in rhythm, you want it to be a squad game, then that's what it's got to be.
I think this is where we end up with the age-old question, and it's the biggest challenge, I think, Stu. I think it's the biggest challenge for anyone coming in from, even Guardiola's first season as City manager. It takes him a bit of time to sort of grasp some of this. I think there's the complexity of the challenge is you need to get as many points as you possibly can from the bottom 10, home and away. That's it. That's the way this works. But you've got to be able to do that when there's... Most sides in the bottom 10 will have 1 or 2 players who are arguably good enough to play for a Champions League club in any one of the other big 5 leagues. And I'd argue be a squad player for a Champions League club in this country. So that's the first challenge. You've got to be able to deal with the fact that Jared Bowen's coming up against you. Last season for Wolves, Pedro Neto murders City and Liverpool across both games at Molineux. So you've got to be able to deal with that. Then you've got to be able to deal with it in the context of, and you're going to Milan on Tuesday. And you could do with getting something. And then you've got to be able to deal with it in the context of, and it's off the first game back off an international break. And this is where, if anything, Liverpool's players are more informed about this than the manager is. And that's why I'm hugely frustrated with the players. But he's thrown open some age-old questions, I think, in terms of how you manage this. And I think he ends up in the worst of all worlds. There's the get the game won and get the players off versus rotate the players. But then what happens if you do what he does, you haven't got the game won, and you decide you're doing the subs anyway, and then you walk into, here's Elanga, here's Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, looking at there's been a lot of talk about how deep and how strong our squad is going into this season, and listen, that's that's clearly true. But it was the first time, just the absence of Harvey Elliott from the bench made me look at the bench yesterday about half time, and I was thinking, I don't know. I'm not sure what level of which personnel is going to make a difference here for this type of game, unless he does something different in terms of shape. I think to your point about the bottom 10, I think when you play them at home, most of the time they're going to have a low block, and I think what you have to do in that situation is overload the central forward areas. I think you need to get bodies in the box because they're going to overload it defensively with bodies, as happened yesterday. There's an argument that you're making it still even more overcrowded if you do that, but I think that's nonsense, because ultimately when the ball breaks in the box, you want to have more lads, or you want to have at least a fighting chance of having a lad there to win the ball. And it was so clear yesterday in that first half that Jota was completely and utterly isolated. There was no support around him, and there's the argument, okay, well, Szoboszlai's playing in the 10, but he's playing as more of a midfielder. But our wide players now are playing wider. So it's isolated, and this has been a little bit of a worry of mine going into the season, because I think that unless you're willing then to break glass in the game and go 2 up top, which, by the way, I think was the move yesterday. I think the move was not to take Jota off and bring Núñez on, because all Núñez did, by the way, was vacate the space even more from the central area. But we've seen in the past when Jota and Núñez play together, they are a handful, and Núñez can be an incredible distraction, which gives Jota space. Yesterday, Liverpool just didn't, as to your point, Rob, before, Liverpool just didn't have a way home. There was no clear way that Liverpool were going to score a goal, and that is my worry about the squad. But
on your bench point, and this is where, as I say, there's more than one way to do this. With the nature of the games, the players who've been travelling, you'll say you look at the bench and you think you're not sure in the absence of Elliott, and I take that point. I think that's a valid one, but I think it's also because you were thinking this is the sort of game that could just do with a Harvey Elliott, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
but the flip side of that, though, Stu, is he could have a situation where if he picks a different team, he can have different lads who come off the bench to finish it. And this is the conflict, in that he could have looked, because we know that Diaz and McAllister have both had to do the big travelling and all of that. We know that McAllister had picked up a little knock. If I'm being really honest, I don't think McAllister looked fully fit first 2 games of the season, full stop anyway. I thought he looked great at Old Trafford, but I don't think he looked fully fit first 2 games of the season. He doesn't have to pick the team he picks. if he wants to therefore feel like I'll have changes on the hour to do it differently. But I know Paul's going to come in a minute, but this is my... No, it's fine, but because this is the debate, this is the conflict, and I think it's a really interesting one. To Rob's point, the previous manager would not have picked the same team at Old Trafford, and he would have had options off the bench towards the end of that match, and he'd have gone, you know what, it might be a bit shit this for an hour, but we're going to finish strong.
I think that's entirely fair. And
I'm not saying there's no right way.
But I honestly, I was looking at it going, I don't know who I would have started differently. To be honest, I get the point. McAllister probably shouldn't have played. I think that's fair. But who come? I'm not looking.
We don't have enough midfield options.
I'm looking at that squad. I'm looking at that bench and going, did I want Gakpo to start today? Did I want Jones? Isn't ready to start?
I think I'd have started Jones. I'd have given Jones an hour.
Well, Rob's just saying that he wasn't fit. I think he's in a real position there, and it's by design. It's our own fault. You know, ultimately
he hasn't played, has he, Jones?
Well, Jones hasn't played.
He didn't look fit to me.
No, but he's been injured, Jones, and that's the thing with him. But how much did we speak all summer about this was going to bite us in the arse pretty quick if we got the odd injury, and then we were even talking, well, then what's the option? And Endo,
I wouldn't have started Endo, I'd have started Jones. In all seriousness, I would have started Jones and given him an hour.
Jones looked way off it when he came on last night, so then your option's McAllister.
But I think part of why he looked well off it, Paul, is the coming on. First and foremost, when he makes the 3 changes on the hour, he changes 5 positions. He doesn't make 3 changes, he makes 5. Because he moves Trent and he moves Szoboszlai. Changes their roles massively. So suddenly these lads who haven't got any time yet to bed in with the teammates, they're coming in to a situation that's now alien to everybody, if you see what I mean. The 3 players I've got the most sympathy, well, 4 if you want to include Jones, I've got most sympathy for yesterday, the subs. I think the subs come on and everything's fucked at that point. Whereas if you're integrating 2 changes, say, from the start of the game, it's easier for people to play the way in, get the rhythm, get going, when the whole team's trying to work it out. And that's my frustration yesterday, is that he doesn't change 3 things on the hour mark, he changes 5.
But it was in a game that needed change. Like, that's the thing I can go, at least he tried to. It wasn't.
But they were pre-programmed.
Yeah, but there's still plan A or plan A tactically. So the tactical changes he may have made, I don't know if they're pre-programmed. My point, my only change I thought he could have done yesterday was if he was going to play, if McAllister wasn't ready, which maybe he wasn't, but he wasn't the worst defender on the pitch, would have been to put Szoboszlai deeper and maybe have played Gakpo as a proper number 10 in a 4-2-3-1 and just gone for the throat with them first 60. But I don't. That could be something he's looked at and he's just gone, no, this just doesn't work.
We've got to find a way. This is not good. This is not going to be a one-off.
No.
This is the
challenge. This is the key challenge.
And we've got to find a way to score, because ultimately, when we talk about the squad all we want, ultimately they've got to find a way in that 90 minutes to put the ball in the back of the net. And my fear is that the way that we're set up means, and with the personnel that we've got, means that if plan A is not working, I'm not sure that off the bench we've got the options to go stronger with that plan A, to stick with it. I think we have to change, and I do think that you're going to find, as I said before, I think you're going to find at times, if Jota's the centre forward, and I really hope that he stays that way, I think he's going to have a lot of periods of time where he's not getting players close enough to them.
Well, Jota doesn't impact a game all that much generally, but the thing is, if he's the one player on the pitch you want any chance to fall to, and that's an old-fashioned centre forward in that case, isn't it? I don't care what you're doing, but if the chance falls, bang, score it, and he does do that.
He's a complex player, Jota, in a certain sense, because I was talking about a previous show with John. The peak Jota for me is the Jota we saw last season before the injury. He was not only scoring and taking really, not routine chances, but he was impacting the game. That goal he scores against Chelsea is a quintessential Jota goal where he bundles through. He's a bit Suarez-y in an awkward way. But there is another Jota who has feels like 3 touches in a football match, and if one of them isn't a goal, then you might as well be playing with 10 men a lot of the time, because I'm not even having that the movement was that elegant. I thought within it, if I calm down, I quite liked a lot of what the manager was trying to do tactically. The thing, though, that baffled me a bit, I liked it and didn't in equal measure, was, I think, is it after we concede that he goes to 3 at the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
But but he goes with 2 fullbacks and just Virgil, doesn't he?
Yes.
So, but what he does is he negates the impact that Conor Bradley can have, because he stops him. Conor Bradley, when he made the change to put Trent into midfield and Conor Bradley wide right, I was quite excited by that. I thought, okay, because Trent has not impacted the game as an attacking right back in the course of this game so far. He's done some midfieldy things. To be honest with you, he didn't really change his position much, moving from nominal inverted right back to midfield.
You're a very kind man.
What, Trent?
Yeah. I thought he was terrible in midfield.
Yes, he was. No. Sorry, no. I'm talking about the principle. I think he was shy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I thought the idea was exciting. I thought if we're going to change something, putting a player with Trent's skill set in theory, a bit nearer the goal, and with Conor Bradley's skill set, where he can use his pace and power out wide and bring Mo Salah again, Mo Salah closer to the goal. All of that could, in a parallel universe, work really well. But then he undoes before he even got time to get going. He undoes it by pulling Conor back into a odd looking back 3. So I don't know, we lost attacking impetus by putting a defender.
When I seen them subs coming on 60, I thought he's taking Trent off here. Like, I thought so. I was ready to see what's the reaction of the individual going to be. How is Trent going to react to this? Because I actually thought what he was going to do was introduce flying fullbacks, which has been the thing that we've sort of lost under this new manager, I feel. And we
lost it under the last manager, I felt, didn't you?
Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, but I thought obviously Trent's almost playing in midfield, and we're not getting the best of him. So are we just going to put Bradley on, and then his job's just going to be up and down that touchline, go get chalk on your boots? And it was, we're going to put Trent into midfield, and actually, obviously, when he's made that change and he's put Virgil as the sole centre half, and you've completely lost that overlap. I just didn't get that. That was the thing with the manager. It was like one of our strengths under Jürgen for a lot of his period was being able to go round the fullback, create some space that way. A winger can go one way, a fullback can go the other, and it gives the team something to think about. And that just wasn't in the game plan at all. And that's fine if it's working, but when you're trying to change the game a little bit, that surely should have been an option to him.
I think the thing in the first half, Stu, I think the thing through the whole match, I think that Forest should be rightly praised. I think there's some good individual performances. They have the game plan, they execute it. But we do get into their penalty area, and we're around their penalty area, and that's where I'm frustrated in the end. I think that, and this is where I think there can be sympathy for Paul's individual performance points rather than initial selection. You know, the number of times Salah ends up with the ball in what I'm saying is a good area, that suggests to me Liverpool are well set up. But then he's got to do the right thing. And I think you're pretty close to, certainly in terms of his work with the actual ball at his feet, very close to saying it's one of his worst performances for Liverpool. He gets so much of the ball in their penalty area. He is our best player. I'm sure we know he holds himself to the highest standard. So I don't think he goes to bed last night happy. Let me be crystal clear about that. But over and over and over again, he's in a position to be able to play someone in, do something else, have a shot, whatever it is he wants to do. And it felt like every single time he didn't just do something that wasn't right. He managed to do the thing that was the most wrong, and then also compound that by doing it badly.
Yeah, the decision making was horrific, and I think I said before about the starting the game with that level of desperation, but that just led to increasing levels of madness, really, where he's not taking the correct options. The amount of times he was cutting in and rolling a shot to the near post was insane. When you've got players there lining up at the back post arriving, free, and he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one to be wasteful, but certainly in terms of trying to, that hero complex coming out as that desperation increases, I think we can be guilty of that at times.
But also, I think we're playing in a way, though, to your point, that he wasn't the only one, but we're playing in a way which is we're moving them around to get Salah space in the penalty area or close to the penalty area. And the manager might be able to say, we're actually doing that quite well, because we kept getting them space in around the penalty area and getting them the ball at the end of that process. So I don't think it's just a hero complex. It's like the idea is you move them around, you stretch them a little bit, you pull them this way, pull them that way, bang the balls onto Salah and you get it to him, and then we start again from there. So I don't think but then it's just got to be better. You know what I mean? Like, and this is Paul's point, and I'm in a, like, it's you. We've got you there. It's got to be better.
Yeah, as I said at the start, technically, we were wanting all over the pitch, and high-profile players like Salah like Szoboszlai, Jesus Christ, Szoboszlai, I felt like it was an art installation at Anfield, how bad he was. But, Salah, the amount of times that, as I said, he's made the wrong decision, or technically he just has a bad touch, or, he's heavy, or he tries to go inside his man and he just can't do it. It just nothing came off for him. But instead of just being a bit calmer and a bit more sensible and keeping the ball, I just felt that we just continued on that slope of rushing things and just making it worse, really. The calmer heads did not prevail.
I think calmer heads everywhere as well, by the way. I think in the stands, I thought, shocking.
I tell you what, I know it's a cheap shot, this, but I don't think the ref helped us at all. First half, Oliver, I thought, was fucking... But he just didn't allow us to have any pressure on the ball. I mean, none. It felt like his threshold for pressing was just non-existent. I mean, in the first half, it was another one. It felt like the second or third time I've said this season. The ratio of free kicks in a competitive game shouldn't be that extreme. It felt like, I'd say, 20 free kicks in the first half and 19 were for them. It was mental, I thought. I'm just too biased.
I thought he was crap, but I'm used to it and I'm not bothered.
He used to be all right, Oliver.
No, I think he used to be all right, but I thought he was crap. But I think that the way we get referees at Anfield's terrible. And
there was a few things with Salah. That's always with Salah, isn't it? Where he's just manhandled and gets absolutely nothing.
But I'm used to it now. I'm just a bit like, well, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get.
I'm so accustomed to it, but the one thing I can't abide with is on 82, 83 minutes, the ground emptying at home, getting beat 1-0. It's just not right.
Yeah.
The amount of people getting off in front of me last night, I was genuinely shocked because it's a 3 o'clock on a Saturday game where you're rushing to. Sometimes...
they're all crying on. People want more 3 o'clock Saturdays. We'll stay till the fucking end then.
Yeah, we'll stay till the end. Honestly, because... What happens if we get one there on 87? Because they're the best times at Anfield. Then when you're chasing that, well, I can't remember the game. Was it where Trent got the late goal?
Fulham last season. Fulham at home.
Probably one of my favourite Anfield moments. That was brilliant. That celebration at the end, and just. I don't know, there was droves of people getting off on 84 last night, and I just thought, with the amount of added time nowadays, you've got 10, 11 minutes left in the game here. What are you even here for?
The crowd never got going, but I don't think there was enough. There was no encouragement really on the pitch. The siege didn't.
It does work two ways, Rob. But, yeah. I mean, I think it's a long time to go.
But you're
there.
absolutely. Oh, you're totally right. It's terrible.
I think the siege didn't come as actually the core problem, and I don't think we were set up. I don't think we had a siege plan.
No.
And again, and that's he makes that sub late on, as you say, and it's that sort of funny back three thing is what he chooses to do. Which also, by the way, removes him the idea of throwing a centre half up, which I know people don't enjoy, but I at least it's something I can get behind for 5 minutes there. You know what I mean? I quite like it when Virgil goes up front. I just think it's quite funny, and not least because he's decided he's the best fucking centre forward, and I quite like that he has that energy of, well, just give me the ball.
I don't know how much of a purist you are. There's a point where you have no options but to fucking launch it. It is. I've seen it now twice. I think under Slotty against Ipswich and here where. It's clear that we're in the 2 minutes added on at the end of the first half, but we've got the ball on the halfway line, and he's going to blow. So fucking put it in the box. Give us a chance. Because if you play one pass to your left, he's going to blow early. Otherwise, he'll give you the 20 seconds. Sometimes you've got to do it.
I think I like that level of modular criticism. Really getting down there, that 20 seconds. But I kicked off on a ball boy. It was not my finest.
I kicked off on a ball boy.
Oh, he was a fucking nightmare, wasn't he?
Twat, yeah. Not really, son. I don't mean that.
Our blood was up.
We're all doing your best.
If we look earlier than the last 20 seconds, I think that the manager would argue that where we were really poor and where he was really disappointed in terms of us being able to set up a siege is the way we would give the ball away in their half around the edge of their penalty area. What you'd expect this Liverpool team to do with this manager would be to pen them in, to almost horseshoe them into the width of their own penalty area, and to be circulating the ball left to right, short passes, spraying one side to the other, just hem them in and keep the ball and be patient and just
win set pieces, Stu. I think in those circumstances, as much as anything, you might get a header from a corner.
But that patience, but actually, setting up camp right there.
Yeah.
It was just so cheap how we were giving it away. We were not patient at all.
But this is Stu. I'm on the idea of some days you're just going to need a cheap one. This was again why, for me, the hour mark's just massive because it's been crap, but it's 0-0. on the hour mark, and also you know what they're about to do. As soon as you see that team drop from them, you know their plan is we get a bridgehead in the game and then we're going to do this. And precisely how they do it's a bit up for debate. I thought Ward was great. I know I'm always going to say Ward was great, but I thought Ward was great. I thought he really did Virgil's head in. And their entire game plan was, for an hour, just piss them off. Just make it really hard, really horrible, frustrate them, and then we're going to change it and go from there. But we were just beginning to get a little bit of space on that hour mark as well. And this is the next thing for me, and that is what does worry me about the subs and the way of going about it. If we're just going to get somewhere then, and then the subs come and we're all back to square one.
The one thing I would say is those subs didn't get much time to bed in when the goal comes.
I agree, yeah.
So and that's the thing, isn't it? Where they don't really get to adjust into a game that was difficult to adjust into, where we didn't really have any rhythm. But I think when the goal comes, it's harder to find that rhythm as well. But my biggest criticism for yesterday is coming in terms of the two forwards he brought on. They just had zero impact. And you made the point before, Stu, was, you know, in terms of vacating the space, Darwin Núñez, will you get amongst them fucking centre-halves, please? Like, why are you standing on Cody Gakpo's toes all the time? He is one of the thickest footballers I've ever seen. It's like, he's been here, this his third season? Yeah. How are you still playing that way? Under two coaches now, a headless chicken. And there's some things I think he does well, but when he should be the football you bring off the bench that should disturb a game most, you know. And I actually feel, when you made the Elliott point before, he's our best substitute, but it should be Núñez with everything he's got, pace, strength. Why aren't you a cat amongst the pigeons?
They don't have a shot until the 56th minute. Forest.
And then they have a lot.
No, they don't even have a lot. They effectively only have 5 shots.
Matt Sells could have had his feet up all day yesterday.
Over the course of the game, but looks dodgy at the same time.
I've seen him play football at Anfield last season.
What he nearly lashes in. The goal comes on 72. The changes come on 60. Liverpool don't have a single meaningful attempt after the 60th minute mark.
Don't we make one big chance?
No. Oh, yeah, we do. Sorry, earlier in the game, it's the Jota one. Midway through the first half is the one big one. But there's no other chance of significance. My point is, though, to this, Rob, is you've got to be able to make chances after the 60th minute mark. You've got to be able to make decent ones in there. And it's also the point where this is having the strategy for dealing with these teams. A lot of sides are going to come to Anfield and be robust for the first 35 minutes of the first half and first 25 minutes of the second half, because that's what happens. We've seen it for seasons, for years. So therefore, you've got to make sure that you're at the business end of both halves, where you're likeliest to make something happen. And we made ourselves less likely through performance, as well as what's happening from the sidelines. Everything was just getting worse. Things weren't getting better. There wasn't that idea of we're going to find a way. It never looked like we're going to find a way.
It was very strange. The game had got worse into the second half, and then Forest had threatened, albeit they're a bit wild with their finishing, and then they scored the goal, and I thought, fucking hell. And I looked at the clock and I went, 18 plus some injury time, 23. And again, I'm in the mindset of last season and all previous seasons. It goes, we can win this from here. 100%. We've been shocking, but that is a wake-up call. We didn't want that wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. I think we're going to win it, but I fancy us to win it. What I didn't dream of is that we wouldn't have shots on goal, meaningful shots on goal, that the siege wouldn't come, that there was no intensity to us at all. I wasn't sure. I don't know. I find it strange, really. We can talk all we like about the manager, and he's got a new system, and he might be telling them to be too patient, this and that. At the end of the day, it's the same set of lads who know the drill. When you're behind at Anfield.
I feel like they're taking the new manager's system too literally sometimes.
Maybe.
Do you know, like, sometimes there's a ball on, and we heard the chat around being patient, making smarter decisions, don't take unnecessary risks. I don't think he means always. You know, you're trying to claw some points out of a football game. Take a risk, because
that was where I had sympathy for Robertson. Robertson was just obviously being told to make this mad underlap and run that lashes him towards centre forward. And there was only one time they tried to pass to him, and then he just didn't have his feet right.
Yeah,
but he just kept running. I'd clearly been told make that run. He just sprinted up right in front of me second half. He looked goosed, but he then looked goosed and then sprinted again, and then he looked goosed and then he sprinted again. And I was like, lads, you've got to try and use him, or he's just wasting his time here and he's killing himself.
Yeah, that's it for me. I
know it's a risky ball, but play it.
Play it.
At least once.
But I don't know if that's the thing that they might relax into with it because the new manager. But how hard is that being drilled into them in the training ground and whatnot? I suppose the thing is coming into the game is you haven't conceded a goal. You've won all your fixtures. This is clearly working. You know, I've heard whispers knocking around where people go, I love Jurgen, but you know, look at what we're doing at the moment. So I don't think anyone expects what happened yesterday, and it could just be one of those days. But he's got a big week. He's got a really big week.
Go on.
Sorry, there's the only, if you want a small crumb of comfort, the only thing it sort of reminds me of, it's almost identical to our start in 13-14. I think we win our opening 3 under Brendan Rodgers, including beating Man United. We're all up for it. We go home to Southampton and get turned over 1-0.
Dejan Lovren.
Yeah.
The big dog.
So it does burst the bubble, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a critical moment.
But as part of that, Stu, I think that therefore we've got to work out what the approach is to these fixtures. This is now the pressure that's on the manager. I think there's no, and I think it is also with the players. I want to be really clear about this. There's players there who've done this, who've had this year in, year out. There's players there who say they're big personalities, who I think are big personalities. Whether or not this was wrong in terms of his approach, and I mean wrong in inverted commas, because there's no right way to do it. There's no definitive way to do it. Whether or not it was bad execution, I'm just going to keep saying this to the point that I'm going to bore everyone, including myself. This is the biggest challenge. I trust this manager to be able to set up a Liverpool team to go and get a good result at somewhere like the Emirates. Not to say it'll definitely happen, but I've already seen enough to go, this fella knows how to put a football team together.
Because he's at Old Trafford.
Yeah, and also just in general his pedigree, and also you just get the sense of this is a clever fella who really understands football. Like, he understands the game. I'm all in on him. I think he's great. But the challenge is, what are you doing? International break Saturday against a side that's just going to come and do your head in. That's their entire strategy. And by the way, huge credit to them for it. But you've had the international break. You've got this. You've got Milan on Tuesday. You've got the next run coming up. At some point, we've got to go to Molineux. And then after Molineux, it's Bologna. And you've got to fucking win both games. And this is my point. You've got to win all the games because that's the pace. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And so far, they, this season, whichever way you want to talk about it, they've had one go at what I think is the biggest challenge, and they're fucking on 0% as far as I'm concerned. No matter, for whatever reason it is, it's 0 out of 10 so far.
I mean, you look at those fixtures coming up, and they are all, on paper, very, very winnable games.
As that was.
Yeah, absolutely. But to that point, you've got to go and do it. You've got to go and do it, and it'll be really interesting to see how the team or the players react to this, because it's one thing what the manager does from the sidelines and the team that he picks and all this, but actually there's going to be some heads down, and there's going to be a few dark nights of the soul last night. I would imagine for a few of them, and they've got a massive game in Italy on Tuesday, where they can use that as an opportunity, almost like to cleanse themselves of
I've made up the playing Tuesday now.
Yeah,
sooner the better. I'd like them to play today.
Yeah. But I think they need an injection. I mean, I would really like to see if he is fit, and he seems to be in training. I'd really like to see Chiesa get some minutes in that game, because I think the team could do with a little bit of an injection. I think just a little bit of a lift, a bit of a new energy coming into the team following that. I think that would just give it a different mindset, I think. And yeah, there's you would also anticipate that there should be some lads starting who haven't got starts yet. You'd imagine that Jones might be close. Maybe this will be the game that Jones does get an hour. Maybe that'll be. Maybe it was just a little bit too soon yesterday. But in terms of priorities, if you're asking me which I'd want my strongest 11 in, it'd be next weekend.
Absolutely. I think he has to make 6 changes, I'm going to say, for
I've
Milan.
got them in my head. I think he'll change both fullbacks.
Well, let's go.
We'll do it in a minute. Before then, I want to get John Gibbons with Donna Scully about this single for Zoe's place. We'll get over there. You can have John, and then you're going to hear Rob's 6 changes in his head. Will he have taken into account the fact that some lads were took off on the hour mark before in this one to keep them fresh for the game against Milan? Let's find out. Stay tuned.
And we are in the video studio. It's another Anfield Wrap insert. It's John Gibbons with Donna Scully, who, first time we met in person, but we've spoken online a lot. I know you're an Anfield Wrap fan, so we appreciate that. But we're here to talk about you. So thanks so much for coming in, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, John. It's very kind.
So a little bit, first of all, about your story, if you don't mind, because people might recognise the accent or hear you sort of not from here originally. You're obviously a huge Liverpool fan, but it is fair to say you've had a huge impact on the city, and we're grateful for you. But tell us a little bit more about you and your journey, if you like, and what you get up to.
Yeah, I'm from Dublin inner city originally, so I call myself a blow-in. I've been in Merseyside 27 years this year. Obviously, I won Merseyside Woman of the Year this year, which was amazing. Now, kind of like the icing on the cake. Kind of feel like an honorary Scouser now, and the first Irish woman to win it, so that was brilliant.
Incredible.
But yeah, I always say this city has really inspired me, and it's really kind of, made me think about community and, helping each other. So yeah, I think it's down to the city, a lot of it.
Well, you inspire me, and we, as I say, we follow each other on Twitter, and one of the things that you always say, which is so true, is the easiest thing is to care, and you preach that and you live that, and one of the ways, many ways I'm sure that you do that is through the Breakfast Club. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about the Breakfast Club before you tell us about your designs on Number One Glory. On
my new single. The Breakfast Club is a collaboration between Fan Sport and Food Banks and Carpenters Group, which is the company that my husband and I, John, run and own. And I met them years ago when they first set up. I met them at Anfield as a fan and kind of went, why are you here? And they said, people in Merseyside are hungry. I love the fan activism as well, that, it was kind of fans helping, because football can have a bad reputation as well, especially maybe 8 years ago. So it's brilliant to see that positive side of it. We worked with them as a business, and then we kind of worked out that in Birkenhead on the Wirral, at the weekend, there's not much available for homeless people in particular. So we set up this, what we saw as kind of a homeless breakfast, but it's evolved over the last 7 years, and we get a lot of people through the cost of living crisis as well. So pensioners, families, anybody really who can't make ends meet and who are ending up going to food banks during the week and stuff, they come to us. So, it's a sad place in the sense that people are very deprived. It's a happy place in the sense that we have great volunteers, and there's a great atmosphere. It's kind of cooked breakfast, cereal, tea, coffee, love and a bit of kindness, and then we give food to take away as well to get you through the rest of the day and maybe for a few days. So it's turned out, and I've talked a lot about it on Twitter or X, wherever they want. I still like Twitter, and it's kind of grown, and people have kind of listened, and I think the people there for me have no voice. So I think I've liked that Twitter's given me that platform to talk about stuff that they have to deal with, the things that, cause them pain, and, they kind of feel like everyone's forgotten them. So, it's kind of evolved a lot over the years.
And I know, obviously, you love the Liverpool Football Club, the foundation have got involved. Yeah. You've even had ex-players like Tash Dowie coming down and putting a...
Peter McDowell.
Putting the hairnets on and getting involved.
Yeah, and they come down, and when Peter, Tash, Becky, or any of them come down, they bring stuff with them. We get like gear from the Liverpool, we get like donations of toiletries and things like that. So, they never come empty-handed, and they're really hands-on. So it's brilliant. And I think for the people who go there, when these famous people turn up, they're like, to see us, so it's a great atmosphere, and it's lovely. It's really nice. It's really kind of, I say to you, what the city's about. It doesn't surprise me, but it's really nice too.
So obviously it needs funding, and it is an establishment that needs funding, and you can't do it all through sort of love and care, unfortunately. It needs pounds, and a few of them, I'm sure. So one idea you've had recently about a fundraiser is quite a unique one. Well, not, it's been done before, but you're brave to have a go.
Yeah, and kind of down to you a bit as well, because, as a business, we've always tried to support Zoe's Place. I think it's an amazing place, as you know. And then through you, because I went to their ladies' lunch this year, I go every year, and you did that video showing that they needed a new home. Yeah. And they'd got to raise £3.5 million or something. So it really kind of resonated, and I thought, Jesus, that's a lot of money to raise, and they're already, trying to support themselves anyway. So we signed up to the 150, I know you have as well, at Carpenters. But I just thought, as a Sunday breakfast group, maybe we could do something, not quite be 150, but, do something and raise a bit of money for the new home. So I said to the rest of them, and they said, yes, we're in. So I got these T-shirts made, my life motto, kindness is free, spread that shit everywhere. So we got these T-shirts made, and a few weeks ago on a Sunday, and one of the local guys, one of the regulars, has a guitar, and Vincent, and he's a good singer. So he kind of got us together. Tash Dowie, Becky was there, a couple of girls from the Liverpool Feds. So we all got in there and we decided instead of Band Aid, we'd be Breakfast Aid. And we have a Just Giving page now. The money has started to come in. So I think for us, we're just thinking if we could raise a few grand to put in the pot for the home.
So is it all for Zoe's Place? I thought it was joint all going to Zoe's Place. This one we're doing now is just for Zoe's Place, the song, because I think just as a kind of a volunteer group, we just thought we could help and maybe, you know, throw a few £1 in the pot and have a bit of laugh. But yeah, I mean, it's my brother said to me that people will pay you not to sing. and in particular, my voice seems to be the loudest. Because it's really enthusiastic, but there's not much style or anything. So enthusiasm's important.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've loads of passion. I just haven't got a voice or any tone. But yeah, so you know, this is for now. Like for the next few weeks or so, I really want to try and push, you know, on X and LinkedIn and everything, is to kind of try and raise a few £3. Already, a few people I know have kind of donated and made some jokes. There's some really good jokes on there about how bad we are and how bad I am, which is kind of worth looking at as well. But yeah, I think it's an amazing cause.
Yeah.
I think we're very lucky to have Zoe's Place in Liverpool, and the fact that they need a new home is really important, and I think it's good for us all to try and get on board and help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to find you, they want to find the song, you know, what's the best way to do that? And then obviously eventually, if you can donate.
Oh yeah, I mean, my pinned tweet, you know, on X or Twitter is the kind of the Just Giving page, and pictures from the morning that we did it, because Jen, who's a brilliant photographer, you know, from she's a volunteer at the food banks, she came and took some great photographs of us in our T-shirts. So if anyone wants to see all our photographs, have a look at the Just Giving page, hear this amazing song. And I think, you know, people, you know, if we don't get to number one, it'll be a real tragedy.
And a shame on the city. So we need to sort that out. But no, it is fantastic what you've done for Zoe's Place. But week in, week out, what you're doing at the Breakfast Club, and it has obviously been, you know, a long time now, and you must have seen the lives that it has changed and altered and continued. Yeah.
And I think my other thing is that, you know, fan support and food banks are there now. We're back into the season. They'll be at Anfield, they'll be at Goodison or the new stadium. So, you know, if everybody brings a tin of beans or a tin of soup, it's going to help people, because people are still very hungry. We've just had the summer, and you would have kids hungry because of school holidays. So I think it's really important to do that. And I know on a Sunday at the Charles Thompson Mission, people drop off donations and clothes and food and toiletries. It's brilliant. And I think if we can all do a little bit, you know, I think someone's saying, oh, is there any point? And I think, you know, I just think if everybody at the game tomorrow brought a tin of soup or a tin of beans, you can imagine how much food would be able to be collected. So I just think if we all get on board and support each other, then we'll be able to help more people.
Donna, it's been lovely to chat. You are an inspirational woman. Merseyside Woman of the Year for a reason. Thank you so much for coming in. Best of luck with the single.
Thanks, John.
Maybe there'll be a follow-up. I'll bring my trumpet down and get
I'm sure people are hoping there won't be. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great stuff from John and Donna there. 6 changes then for the Milanese question.
I'm being arbitrary, but I'll retrofit it to my argument.
Janos and goal.
No, hang on. No, before we get specific, I want to talk about a certain principle though, because I spent all summer talking about the approach we'll take. We've talked about Mo Salah is coming up to is he 33 by next June, something like that, 32 or 33, whatever. You don't play Mo Salah every week if you want the best of Mo Salah. We've been saying all summer. You don't play Virgil van Dijk every week if you want the best of Virgil van Dijk. And also, you don't play lads who've played 2 games for their countries, travelled halfway around the world, again, if you want them to be in peak condition. So let's stop dicking about and actually realise exactly what Stu says. Bournemouth is the bigger game. We can get beaten in Milan. It will be a kick in the pants, but we can pick ourselves up to recover in the Champions League, which we'll come on to in a minute. But we certainly can come out and recover with Bournemouth. So my 6 changes in a long-winded way. No, not Jaros for Alisson. Alisson keeps his place despite his bizarre attempt to not save that shot from Hudson-Odoi yesterday. I think I would bench Trent Alexander-Arnold and bring in Conor Bradley.
I agree with you on that one.
I'm loath to say this is the one I'm resting Virgil van Dijk for, so I don't think I will, but I will therefore rest Konate.
Really? Okay.
Well, because Konate is someone who quickly plays himself into injury, although he didn't play for France. I'm making a change at centre-back. I'm not sure which one.
Okay, I'm going to say it's Quansah.
I think Quansah starts.
Quansah comes in. I think Quansah starts, not entirely sure who for. I think I'm I'm leaving Robbo in the team. He comes off, so I'm leaving Robbo in the team.
I can't watch Tsimikas again.
No, and I don't want to watch Tsimikas. None of us do. And
I honestly think you might see Tsimikas again.
There is a case. I think John.
It was right in front of me. Yes, it was hard.
Jurgen would do. Jurgen would bring in Joe Gomez, I think, and that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world away in Milan.
Joe, what, I forgot he existed.
Well, I know he's a good player.
Yeah,
I think McAllister definitely doesn't start because he's been on the cusp of an injury. He's played
took him off on the hour. If you take him off on the hour in that one, and then you don't play him in Milan, I'm just going, come on.
I think he was shy yesterday.
I think McAllister starts 100%. I think Gravenberch is the one that falls out.
Maybe you're right. He's played a lot of football, but I thought he was one of our better performers.
I thought you played well, Gravenberch.
But maybe you're right there.
So are you playing Jones? Who are you playing then? What's your midfield?
I don't know after that.
It's got to be. It has to be McAllister.
I think it's McAllister. I think it's McAllister, Jones, and who else have we got? And Soboslai probably keeps his place despite his performance. Up front, Nunes has to start despite his performance. I think Gakpo probably has to start.
Took Jota off on the hour mark.
No, I think Nunes. I think he'll go with Gakpo, Salah, and
Nunes.
Gakpo, Salah, and Nunes. Yeah.
I mean, I'd like Chiesa not to start, but I definitely.
I was shocked he wasn't in the team yesterday. But then I looked at the bench and went, "Well, who for?" That was my issue.
Possibly one of the defenders.
Tsimikas or Gomez, really, because both of them are covering you at left back. Quansah covers you at centre back. I think that was. Yeah, I think. I want to see Chiesa get at least half an hour on Tuesday.
At least half an hour, okay. Off the basis of the subs that were on the hour mark, what do you think he's going to do? What would you do?
Nothing wrong with preordained.
I wouldn't play Szoboszlai. I think he's been great up until yesterday. I think yesterday was.
He's the big question though. Who replaces him in that? Because it's Elliott, and.
I also think he's your one for big away games against good sides in that position, because I think he'll make it
big
all join up, pressing, shut, closing people. Genuinely, I take if there's a thing for me is I think we might need a flat track bully number 10. That isn't Szoboszlai, but when the track is not flat, I think it might just be Szoboszlai that I play.
I mean, he played remarkably. He plays the full 95 yesterday, and I couldn't get over that, by the way, as every sub was made. So I don't know, and I think there's also a question of what's behind that, all of that massive drop off in standard of performance. What's behind that? Is it just a case he's absolutely goosed?
I don't think so, Stu. I think of the one player in the whole squad, he's the one that doesn't suffer with energy. I think you can run him again and again and again. I think to a point, but I don't think this early in the season, I don't think that's a worry for him. And I also think this game in the week, well, that's the one where Szoboszlai should have a bit of space. It's a big pitch, counter press and whatever. It's built for him. Szoboszlai, I think if he doesn't play in that one, well, I mean, you are right, he's just playing 95 minutes.
Put it this way, if he does play, he's got to put in a performance, because I think if he stinks the place out again, then there's a big question mark.
The thing with the manager,
gives us a problem with I'm very pro Szoboszlai.
Okay.
I still want to dance with Szoboszlai. I want to win the league with Szoboszlai. But I'm very, very pro Szoboszlai. But yes, I could not believe my eyes yesterday.
I've got a thing though, a long-held philosophy about watch good players when they're shit, right? I prefer a good player who still shows. I get mortified when a player's off form, but he's not in the game.
And he showed, didn't he?
Szoboszlai was present throughout the game. He was
very present.
I give it a 4 out of 10 performance, whatever, or you might say a 1, whatever. But he was present. As far as I think what happens, is he's still relatively young, and I think what happens is his confidence falls, and it affects his touch, and therefore his passing. What happens, and then you see, it gets worse and worse. But he never doesn't show up. And that's what I love about him, and I think he's a good player.
Though, I felt like his performance, it must have been part of a bet. It was honestly, it was almost a thing of sad beauty.
I'm gonna have to watch it back because it's this fascinating.
Honest to God, and I think he definitely knew it as well. And I think every time a substitution was made, he couldn't believe he wasn't getting the hook, to the point where he did everything he possibly could to get sent off in the final few minutes. I mean, he got booked and then he booted the ball away. I think he knew he had to get off that pitch. I think he just needed to have a period of time in his life where he didn't see a football. And honestly, I felt like he was having a breakdown on the pitch yesterday, and
Do you know what I generally thought?
And I like him. I really, really, really rate him as a player.
He had a good international break. Scored an incredible goal for Hungary. I think in a way, a few too many of them had really good international breaks.
I never believe if he's actually scored that goal, by the way, because that clip just does the rounds every international break of him scoring a goal about 4 years ago. And I'm never sure if it's actually been scored in this international break.
There's the free kick. I saw that doing the rounds. It's not that one.
You might be right, though, there, in terms of how good the international break was for him and one or two others. Actually, maybe they're coming back a little bit emotionally drained. Something wasn't right yesterday.
I think so.
In their heads and in his head.
I think Trent wasn't right, and he had a great international break. He wasn't right in a great international break. McAllister had an injury hampered one, but he still gets a goal. He still could have come away satisfied. I think in a way it was too good for them.
The biggest thing for me though yesterday again is obviously it was you look at the game and it's Szoboszlai in that position, and that's what the Elliott injuries put us.
I know, and I said this in the week. People said I was mad.
But no, absolute same. I made the point around us not that I don't think we should be looking for a number 6.
Yeah,
that we should just be looking for the midfielder, and the midfielder could have been yesterday on 75 minutes. Well, Szoboszlai's not playing well. Let's bring the midfielder on.
That's why Atkinson has played there a lot last year.
That's my thought. He's very versatile, isn't he?
10. I think people are going to have to, until we buy another midfielder, and I totally agree with you, it doesn't have to be a 6. We're just short of quality bodies in the middle of the park.
100%.
I think people are going to have to suck up, whatever their prejudices are, that Trent is going to have to be an option who shows up in midfield for us from time to time.
If that's the case, then he's got to do it better than he did it yesterday.
Absolutely he does. Absolutely does. But let's put it this way. I'd rather see Trent learning the position better than I want to see Tyler Morton or Endo. And I may be proved terribly wrong on that, but I think, at least Trent is a world-class footballer. It's not beyond his ken to work that position out and have a great effect on games. If anyone says to me Trent can't play midfield, I'm sorry, I'm not having it. He may not have played it well yet, but he can.
The one thing for Tuesday is, though, that the manager's not 100% this system every week. And that's the one thing where you might see something new. Yeah. That's where he does go.
And it's a European game. So, how many points do you need?
Oh, the Champions League?
To finish 9th. How many points will 9th get?
I don't know.
It's out. 24 is the most you can get. How many points
will 8th get, you mean?
No, 9th, because you need to finish above 9th.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're going to say that 9th will get
9th and above.
9th, so it's 8th and above qualifies automatically to the last 16. You want to come top 8. Again, to put that into context, the last 16, the playoff second leg, not the last 16, the playoff second leg will be 4 days before we go to the Etihad. So you don't want to be in that playoff. You don't want any part of it.
I've worked it out.
Okay,
I told you this.
How many points?
Chat. I said 8th will need 12 to 14. That's my bet.
Fuck me, that's
16,
low.
Well, I based it on looking at the Premier League and basing it around the teams that will get those. Have to finish in those kind of points levels over the last 3 or 4 seasons.
So when the group used to need 10 points, really, didn't you? 10 points.
You almost never didn't do it on 10.
Oh, well, sorry, was that to qualify? You needed to get 10 points. Well, why wouldn't you just... What is the 2 more fixtures? Yeah, you're probably 14 points then, aren't you?
I think 14... I think
13, 14 is likely.
I'd be amazed if 9th doesn't have more than 13 points. Amazed.
Well, what do you think?
I think 9th might be 16. I think there might be 12 teams who are equipped to be in the vicinity of played 8, won 4, drawn a couple, and that gets you to 13.
This competition by design now is no dead rubbers, isn't it? And that's what they're trying to do with it. So even where you were saying earlier, Rob, you can afford to lose it maybe, or not, or maybe not to win in the week. I mean, you shouldn't be thinking that you're going to Milan in any circumstance and winning. You want to win, but it shouldn't be an absolute demand.
No, and you take a draw.
No, you would. Yeah, if you're being pragmatic about it, you've just got to look at who else you've got, because one of the games you've got at Anfield is Real Madrid. And that could be one we go, well, we might have to win at Milan away, because we might not win one of our homes.
The second to last game, isn't it, Madrid? Is that right?
No, it's 5th game.
Second to last home, sorry, I think I might.
It's the second to last home, but it's game 5.
I think Liverpool should be going over there to win. Milan aren't.
But what I'm saying is, we can't be sitting here expecting to go to the San Siro and win. No one in world football can expect that.
But I think if you take the emotional side and you're just objective, looking at the quality of the teams on paper, the start they've made, but also that look at the individuals, you'd definitely say
they won 4-0 yesterday. To be fair,
Liverpool are a better team than what Milan are currently. And I think Liverpool have got to try and get out of the away games at Milan and Bologna. I think they've got to try and get at least 4
Bologna's
points.
at home.
No, but of course it is. Yeah.
So basically, the reason why I think it's but this is back to how many points you think you'll need. If you think that 9th will be 13 points, then I think okay, you can say therefore, all right, well, 14 points does you. But I think you're looking at it, and we're not going to work. Everyone's got to live one of these, and it might be that the way it is year one, it's different than from year two. But everyone's got to live one of these. I think if you win in Milan, then you've got 2 home games coming up against Lille and Bologna, where you should have a confidence that we take, and that suddenly gets you to 9 points. If you win in Milan, and then you've got a home game against Leverkusen where you may well get something. You've got an away game at Leipzig where you may well get something. You've got an away game at PSV where you may get something before you get to Real Madrid. We're more than capable of beating at Anfield, by the way. Let's not act like we'll never beat Real Madrid at Anfield.
You're saying you think we can drop 8 points and go through?
No, I'm saying I think you need 16. Yeah, I think you need 16.
So you can drop 8. For us to drop 8 points from 8 games. That's to say you only need to go at 2 points a game. Well, that's Champions League sort of qualification numbers, isn't it? Yeah, I can see that being about right.
Why is it equivalent of Champions League qualification?
Because you used to say to get Champions League, you'd run at 2 points a game.
I know. So this is a league of how many teams in this league?
36.
36. Yeah, I don't think you need 2 points a game to finish top 8. I'll be surprised, but let's see.
I think.
You know what?
I think it's going to be a top 12. And they're going to be quite 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th could be quite close, is my point. Our last game's PSV away. So if we need something from that last one...
So is goal difference at play then?
Yeah,
you can't be head-to-head, can it?
Yeah, you need goal difference.
Let's look at our attitude here as sort of like maybe symptomatic of how this will play out. We're all saying already that Bournemouth's a bigger game than AC Milan. Do we all agree with that? I'd much rather 3 points against Bournemouth than winning in the Champions League this week.
I don't see why you can't have both.
No, you can have both. But arguably, when the fixtures are backing up this way, you kind of go, well, where is the best team?
I think you're right because of yesterday. Well, it's in context, isn't it? I think if you'd asked me this before yesterday, I'd have gone, we've got 3 out of 3 in the league. Even if you dropped... Say you drew one of those 2 home games, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But losing now, you're right. Well, we have to beat Bournemouth.
You've got it. You can't drop any home Premier League games that we drop points in. Like we just cannot.
Against bottom 10 teams.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to win the Premier League, we have to be points gathering like a team that gets 90 points, right? At least. If you want to finish 8th in this league, you do not have to be running at that kind of points rate or anywhere near it. So clearly the Premier League has to be the priority. And I think that mentality, what I'm trying to say along with you, that mentality will play in many different ways into teams taking more draws, I think, than they ordinarily might in a group stage where you go, hang on, 2 defeats, we might be fucking dead in a group stage with 2 defeats. Not saying 2 defeats don't put you in trouble in this, but that it's more recoverable from.
I do agree with that. The flip side of that is that I think I'd rather we'd have built out the back of the Milan team, not least because of all the travelling and all those bits and pieces, and also got some people some time on the pitch, and then being able to go stronger. But I take your sort of general point. But yeah, now obviously Bournemouth feels absolutely massive.
It does. I think it does, and obviously there's further context, isn't there? Because there's Tuesday in between that. There's I'm sure you've got a lot to talk about this week, Neil. But I think obviously if Liverpool go to the San Siro and don't win, there could be some serious doom and gloom going into next Saturday. But if Liverpool go and look like they have done in the first 3 games, then we'll be really excited.
I don't think we can lose in the San Siro. We can lose, but I think that would be the problematic scoreline. I don't think anyone's going to lose their shit if we draw in the San Siro.
I'm not going to lose my shit if we draw.
If we lose, I might lose a little bit of my shit.
Yeah, but that's when you start digging deeper into tactically, where are we going wrong, what not. But if Liverpool look like they did against Manchester United in the San Siro, then we'll be like, well, that's just a bump in the road yesterday,
It'll have to just be a bump in the road. There's no arguments. It's going to have to be a bump in the road. That's the way this works. There's no one's wanted a hiding place so far. That's to the manager's credit, and it's to every single player's credit. There were no hiding places yesterday, and Liverpool were exposed in the process of doing so. It has to be better. It's been a pleasure on this Anfield Wrap. Thank you very much to Stu, to Rob, to Paul. Subscribe, book, tour, etc., etc. We ask so much of you, but then you deliver on a regular basis. See you later on.